Joining me this morning as we continue on with the story of Noah and the ark, and we reach this beautiful line where finally the flood is over. Now they haven't disembarked from the ark yet, but the flood is over. And again, think about that metaphorically. This is a time when the flood has ceased, and this is a long process, folks. Like when we're talking floods here, in the biblical sense, even the way it's just written, literally, it's written as this long, extended 40 days of rain and hundreds of days just of the water coming and going. And I think you probably can get that. I would imagine most of us can. In terms of our own lives, there are these storms. They aren't just like a one event done and we move right through them. It wouldn't be nice if it was that easy. They're often very long events and they're long drawn out storms. And what comes to mind to me is when we lose someone we love. The grief of that lasts for an extended period of time. It's not something we rapidly move past. It takes a lot of time. Takes a lot of time. So today we're looking at this line, and indeed the face of the ground had dried up. So he takes off the roof and he starts looking out, and he's like, "Oh man, the ground, there's dry land." And I love that idea that maybe that is about being ground dead. That's a time where we can start to see our footing. Now, there's a number of real important things here that are critical. One is it's not that we move on without memories of the flood in our life. If we're going to move on, we're going to have that memory literally embedded, maybe even down to our DNA of how that was for us. And it's also a time where we're landing and we're at this new ground. Like literally, it's new ground. Literally, we are in a very different place. I know for me, I imagine for a lot of us, there's this idea that we want to go back to the way life was. Wouldn't it be nice to go back, to go back, to go back? And that's not how it works. A storm will take us and move us to a brand new place. And with all the potential and the joy, as well as the heartbreak of that we don't get to return to where we were. It just will never be the same. And of course, we come back home again in a certain sense, but it's just a different place. And yeah, I'm thinking the Wizard of Oz, right? Like that kind of journey. We come back, but it's different now, and then we're different now because we're literally in here. We're standing on different ground. And the one I wanted to focus on today is this simple idea. Here's this idea of rebirth, and it's rebirth that only happens after the storm. So critical. It only happens after the storm. And Christian New Church theology, Emmanuel Swinburne says, yeah, this is a story of rebirth, about being born anew. And notice it's not a decision per se. I mean, there obviously are decisions around faith that we're called to make that are beautiful in terms of what we believe and who we're going to choose to follow in our lives. Very important. And yet there's also these parts that are, they're sort of like beyond our decision, right? I don't know too many people who've chosen the biggest storms in their lives, and there might be a few, but it's hard for me to conjure up that, yeah, there are these big storms that we actually choose. The fact is, the big storms happen. I don't believe they're of God's will. I don't believe God is out there to smite us and to test us. That's very core to Christian New Church theology. It's not that at all. It's that life happens, and life just has hard parts because this life isn't perfect. And and that idea, right, friends, that these storms come, they move us to a new place. They're scary. They're all those things. But it's many times the only thing that will really shift us. It's the only thing that really leads us to see life anew. And I want to offer this little caveat. And I don't mean this is a downer at all. Like, it really is not a downer. It's just trying to be candid in terms of yeah, to just be candid in terms of what the process might be. It's easy to think of this process as rebirth and to think, well, we're going to go to a place where life will be better. That's rebirth is about being better. And it's not. Again, talk to somebody who's lost someone near and dear to them. Their life is not better in any sense, nor would anyone even pretend that, right? We know that there's these storms, and we know that they move our lives. And we know that we're not necessarily, in a material sense or a relational sense, going to come out the back end of these better than what we were. So what do we come out as? Well, my experience has been witnessing many people, including some of you who are watching this today. They People tend to come out more loving. That's really a big difference, and it's not, again, not better, but more loving, more open, more compassionate. Say it a lot in our congregation. For those of you joining us the first time, the choice is: Are we going to allow our heart to break, or are we going to allow our heart to be broken open? Many people, I don't know if it's most, but it sure seems like it to me, do end up with their hearts broken out open. They end up in a much more sensitive, tender, and loving place, and that's what rebirth is really all about. So yeah, is there a moment where it's a decision for faith? Yeah, sure, and yet the most profound life-giving change is much greater than that. The most profound life-giving change is about seeing our way through the storm, ending up on the back side of it, and realizing that, oh yeah, what this has done for me is, maybe life isn't better, but I've definitely become more loving. I've become more open. And again, I think about kind of things cracking open. Um, yeah, it's just a very different view, right? Very, very, very different view. So I don't know whether there's a strict takeaway per se, but it's just a noticing of the process, like noticing that the things do fall apart, noticing that there are floods, noticing as well that there's rebirth at the back end of it, but it's rebirth again, not where life is going to be better, but where we'll find ourselves more open, more loving, more compassionate. See that all the time, and that's where to make your decision, because if we're always making our decision around like life being better, life being better, life being better, I mean, that's such a racket. Yeah, good luck with that. Striver's curse, a bunch of stuff I could talk about right there, but it's not necessarily always that, and nothing wrong with wanting life to be better, right? Obviously, but don't get too consumed about that. Start to think of this rebirth and couch it in terms of being loving, and how does that look? And it's a rich love, folks. This is not, the love that people experience after a rebirth is very profound and very rich and very much able to hold all of life's experiences. There's much more of that shalom to it, that Jewish concept of peace that's around wholeness. And it's powerful to be around those folks. They are, from Eva Core to Scarlett Lewis to Kevin Hines, a bunch of people I've been privileged to be around who have that. And it's really, really something to witness. And they are grounded, absolutely grounded. So please remember, rebirth only after the storm. And if you're in that place, just start to witness what love looks like anew in this new spot that you have been landed in. So that's my thought for this morning, folks. I hope that makes sense. And what we're going to do now is going to offer a little prayer, a little meditation, a little prayer, and then a little blessing, and then we'll hop onto social media. So we'll get started here with just getting a little breath, and then we'll go ahead and do a little meditation. So get a little breath. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that I. Be still and know that. Be still and know. Be still and. Be still. Be. Our Father, who art in the heavens, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so upon the earth. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you, bring you peace, and bring you home. Amen. All right, dear friends. So let's take a little look-see here. And again, I hope everyone had a wonderful, wonderful day yesterday and is looking forward to a good day today as well. Oh, we got a bunch of comments. Okay. All right. Kim, good morning to you. I hope you're doing well. Steve, great to have you joining us. Wonderful chatting with you last night. Patricia, great to see you joining us with a little heart this morning. Sherry writes, these tragic experiences can be stunning in both senses of the word. It really is true. It really does just yeah, man. And I think God so joins us in that, right? I mean, that's Sherry, I say this a lot, but that's where the Easter story just keeps on meaning more and more. It's not that Jesus didn't go through this stuff. I mean, he clearly went through a storm and he clearly went through this whole idea of rebirth and clearly landed in a very different place, than what people anticipated. It's very profound. Gene, good morning to you, my friend. Marcus, good morning to you, buddy. Linda writes, God is there to support and love us, especially during the storm. It's just life, not God testing or punishing. Sometimes those horrible things are because of someone's choice. Free will is necessary, but we don't always use free will to a positive end. Think about someone who decides to drive drunk and causes a crisis. Yeah, absolutely spot on. With that, free will cuts both ways, right? Mary writes, the new place is the invitation to be creative and curious. Our free will give us the choice to flow into that creativity or to impose our attachment to recreating a similar situation that we just crawled out of. God gives us loads of flags along the way. We only need to pay attention. Boy, that's Mary. That's beautifully said. And I love that your two comments are back to back, right? Because there can be abuse of free will, but then there's also this incredible gift of free will. And the gift of free will is we can get in this new place and we get to decide what that means. You get to decide what that new place means. And we get to choose. Are we going to just do something different? That's beautiful. Joy writes, this series is like a breath of fresh air. Well, thank you, Joy. And I sort of, this is one of my favorite stories actually to go over in Christian New Church canon, because I think it just, we all know it, right? No way did I pick the big storms. They were crazy doozies. Oh man, so true. Some I learned from and some I still don't understand, but maybe they weren't for me, but someone I love instead. It's so true, Betty. And when we just, man, yeah, and I think crazy thought, right? I think that's so much the joy of getting out into nature is and being out in the elements is we really get humbled around how little we create and how much we just have to sort of learn to just let go. Really, really important. All right. Okay, let me flip over to this real quickly. All right, sorry about that, folks. Just trying to get to the right page here. It always takes me a little bit of time. Come on, Nelly. There we go. All right, we got some comments over here. I want to make sure I draw a note too. Melissa writes, good morning, moving with storms, learning with more meaning and love. And that's it. Boy, Melissa, it's so well said. I can't stress enough. Like we don't get to live life of perfection. I think we say this every day actually, and just keep on coming back to it. We don't get to live lives of perfection. We get the choice to live a life of meaning. Very different things. And we need to keep coming back to that again and again and again. Dean, good to see you, buddy. And thank you. It's been really fun to be talking about this. Tina writes, as a big family, we suffer with a lot of tragedies and loss. It brings more love and closeness to the family. Yeah, it really, it's amazing the way watching that. It's sort of like Mr. Rogers' thing, watch for the helpers. And it's inevitable. Like the helpers show up. They just really, really, really do. I mean, it's deeply, deeply profound. Well, friends, as always, great to join you and just wishing you all the very best and God bless you on your journey. And we'll chat again tomorrow. Bye-bye.